If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Chapter 33 The Eternal Night. That night, in the loft of the Golden Oaks Library. The music thumped loudly, the guests laughed, chattered, and cheered happily, and their voices raised and lowered to match the current status of the games in progress downstairs. Up in the loft, with Rainbow Dash watching from not far away, Twilight had a pillow covering her entire head, and her face was buried in the mattress of one of the room's 2 beds. Rainbow lowered her gaze despondently, remembering how agitated Twilight had been when she figured out that a welcome party was being held in the library by Pinkie Pie. She had stormed off upstairs pretty much as soon as the music had started, which had only been an hour after she had walked in. Rainbow, of course, knew exactly why Twilight was so frustrated. Slowly, she made her way to Twilight's side, her keen eyes determining that Twilight had calmed herself based on her breathing. Gently, oh so gently, Rainbow tapped her fillyhood friend on the shoulder. Twilight flinched in response before shifting to look at Rainbow without having to remove the pillow from her head. As adorable as the image was, Rainbow was unable to smile.
"Twilight, take off the pillow,"
she said carefully. Reluctantly, Twilight did as she was told and sat up on the bed to look at Rainbow.
"What?"
she asked sharply, though she quickly wilted when she heard the bitterness in her own voice.
"I'm sorry." "Hey, don't be,"
Rainbow interrupted her gently, resting a hoof on Twilight's shoulder.
"You're upset, I get that. I mean, if some crazy pony started throwing a gigantic welcome party from you and I was trying to read the next Daring Do book, I'd be a little miffed too."
Twilight grunted and looked away. Rainbow frowned and tightened her grip.
"Hey, Twilight, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret of mine, okay?"
She started, drawing a slightly curious glance from the lavender mare. Rainbow took a deep breath and opened her mouth to speak.
I believe you.
Hey guys! Spike's voice suddenly cut them off as he walked into the room, the loud music from downstairs thoroughly obliterating Rainbow's ability to finish off what she was saying. "It's time to go to Town Hall for the sunrise, come on!" Rainbow shot Spike a glare as hot as lava.
"We were kinda having a moment here, Spike."
She snorted out in agitation before sighing heavily. She then looked back to Twilight and gave a reassuring smile.
"Guess we should get a move on, huh?"
Twilight reached out a hoof and grabbed Rainbow by the tail as she was leaving. Rainbow looked back at Twilight with an irked glare before Twilight spoke.
"Rainbow, you believe what?"
Rainbow paused for a moment, before glancing back down to where Spike was still waiting, albeit looking a bit more unsettled. She then sighed and tugged her tail out of Twilight's hoof.
"I'll tell you later. Let's go, all right?"
Twilight gave a very small and unsure nod before slipping off of the bed and trotting alongside Rainbow Dash out of the library. The stars were moving. Rainbow had first noticed it when Twilight kept casting nervous glances up at the moon on the way to Town Hall. The stars around the moon were slowly closing in on it, their light flickering as they did so. It was a small detail, and it was taking quite some time to progress. Were one not actively looking for it, they would have missed it completely. Twilight was looking gradually more and more worried as the stars moved, and to be fair, Rainbow Dash was equally worried. A visual timer until Nightmare Moon returned, if she had to guess. Presently, they were standing roughly near the center of the large crowd in the center of Ponyville's town hall. The banquet that Applejack had prepared was spread out on 4 long tables that were arranged at the sides of the room, and all of it filled the air with a pleasant and mouth-watering aroma of delicious apple-based foods. The time was drawing close now. Fluttershy and her songbird choir were getting ready to play the introductory fanfare, and Rainbow could see the mayor occasionally peeking out from behind the curtains on the stage. For a moment, Rainbow considered heading up to the upper balcony, knowing that Celestia would be up there, getting ready to make her appearance and speech. She decided not to, however, when she remembered Celestia's request.
If I remember her as well as I think I do, she will strike suddenly and with no warning. If she strikes out at me, I want you to keep Twilight safe.
Despite how much it was bothering her, especially without knowing why Twilight was so important here, Rainbow had agreed to protect her, and she was going to do it.
Ooh, isn't this exciting? Oh, are you excited? Because I'm excited. I don't think I've ever been so excited.
Pinkie Pie suddenly said from next to Twilight, having appeared out of nowhere.
Gah!
Twilight yelped before calming herself and frowning at the pink menace. Then the songbirds began to sing, whistling out their tune alongside a line of ponies playing a fanfare on their trumpets. A spotlight tilted down to shine on the stage, revealing the mayor of Ponyville standing there, adjusting her glasses. She cleared her throat and began to give her speech. In truth, neither Rainbow or Twilight were really listening, for both of them were trying to subtly keep track of the stars that had almost touched the moon. Then, the stars reached their destination. In a heartbeat, the crater pattern of the mare in the moon flickered and vanished from the surface of the celestial object, leaving it a barren white. Rainbow felt a chill run down her spine, and Twilight too began to look distinctly uncomfortable, having just gulped audibly.
And now, it is my great honor to introduce to you the ruler of our land,
the mayor continued, oblivious to Rainbow and Twilight's turmoil.
The very pony who gives us the sun and the moon each and every day, the good, the wise, the bringer of harmony to all of Equestria.
Rainbow felt the fur on her neck stand on end. Her hooves tingled, and she felt her heart rate spike and hammer against her ribs as if it wanted to escape.
Princess Celestia!
The curtains were pulled back. The fanfare played. Princess Celestia was nowhere to be seen.
Oh no, this can't be good,
Twilight whispered despairingly, shrinking away with frightened eyes. Rainbow's eyes were wide open and dilated.
What? Where is she?
She demanded, taking to the air immediately and peering at the balcony. Already the ponies in the room were worried, muttering to themselves and looking around. Rainbow could hear the mayor trying to calm them, but it clearly wasn't having the desired effect. Rarity gradually emerged onto the balcony Celestia was supposed to be on and looked out at the crowd with fearful eyes.
She's gone!
She called out, drawing frightened gasps out of the crowd. Those gasps then began to turn into alarmed cries and shouts when blue smoke began to rise up out of the floor of the balcony. Down below, Twilight shrunk even more, her worst fear coming to life right before her very eyes.
Oh no,
she whispered as the smoke took shape. The smoke parted and swirled away to reveal, standing at its center, a pitch-black alicorn mare wearing midnight blue regalia and deep blue eyes with slits for pupils that bore down into the crowd. Her mane and tail were swirling masses of ethereal blue magic, sparkling with millions of tiny stars.
Nightmare Moon.
From where she hovered, Rainbow could feel her blood run cold.
Celestia,
she thought.
Where is Celestia?
First, she felt fear, then worry. And then her eyes narrowed as anger consumed everything else. Nightmare Moon smirked down on the ponies below her, smug contempt and superiority filling her expression.
Well, 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 my beloved subjects. It has been so long since I've seen your precious little sun-loving faces.
Don't give us that!
Rainbow suddenly snapped, zipping down from her elevated position to be at eye level with Nightmare, drawing her attention.
Where is Celestia? What did you do to my mother?
She shouted furiously, her words echoing off the walls and windows. The entire room went silent. Twilight watched from below tensely, not even daring to breathe. Nightmare Moon already looked rather annoyed by the sudden interruption and confused by the question. A smile slowly formed on her face after a moment, however.
Your mother, you say?
Rainbow shifted back a bit in the air, ready to dodge if any attacks came her way.
Yeah, that's what I said. Now answer me!
A moment passed before a deeply amused chuckle emerged from Nightmare's throat.
Tell me,
She said a moment later.
what is your name, my niece?
It's Rainbow Dash.
Well then, Rainbow Dash, I suppose you have the right to know, more so than the rest of this common rabble.
Nightmare said with venom dripping from her tone, as she referred to the rest of the crowd.
Your mother, dearest, is currently on her way to the moon's surface, where she will spend the rest of her days.
Rainbow felt an eye twitch.
You're no aunt of mine!
She shouted hatefully before launching herself at the alicorn before her. Nightmare Moon merely scoffed. Her eyes lit up, as did her horn. Before she could react, Rainbow was struck in the chest by a lance of electricity that emerged from Nightmare Moon's ethereal mane. She toppled back down out of the air, crying out in pain, before losing consciousness upon her impact with the floor.
Rainbow!
Twilight screamed out, galloping over to her friend's side. The entire crowd had gone frozen in terror, watching the scene unfold. As she slid to a halt next to Rainbow to look her over, Twilight's ears swiveled to listen to what Nightmare had to say.
Such a cold greeting. Does my crown no longer count? Have I been gone for too long?
Must I reassert myself?
Nightmare growled deeply, her horns sparking angrily. She then closed her eyes and visibly relaxed.
Does any pony here even remember me?
Did you not see the signs?
Twilight looked up at the alicorn for a moment, before shifting her attention back to Rainbow. She'd be fine, most likely. The point of impact wasn't serious, but it would leave a nasty bruise. There was no doubt about that.
No? Well then, I suppose a reintroduction is in order.
Nightmare shifted back and flared out her wings, a sadistic grin splitting her face.
Remember this day, you little ponies, for you shall never see another. I, Nightmare Moon, the new ruler of Equestria, hereby decree that the sun shall never rise again. From this moment forth, the night shall last forever.
Nightmare then began to laugh loudly, her mane swirling above her, crackling with electricity and booming with thunder, drowning out the fearful whimpers and terrified screams of the ponies in the town hall. Twilight glared up at Nightmare Moon, disgust forming on her face.
No, it won't,
She thought to herself.
I'm going to find the elements of harmony. I'm going to use them to stop you and bring Princess Celestia back.
Nightmare Moon then gazed down into the crowd, and her eyes locked on a still unconscious Rainbow Dash. Her sharp teeth became visible in a sadistic grin.
Now I must take my leave. There is much to be done.
Her body disintegrated, transforming into a cloud of blue smoke, which then shot down to rematerialize before Twilight and Rainbow. Twilight shrieked and flailed back from the abrupt movement. Nightmare Moon was at least twice as tall as she was and radiated an aura that froze Twilight in fear.
And I I have some catching up to do with the newest addition to the family.
No! Don't touch her!
Twilight shouted, throwing herself to grab Rainbow and run. But she was too slow. The blue energy of Nightmare's mane swirled once more, this time taking Rainbow Dash along with Nightmare Moon. The two disappeared before the blue cloud shot off through the front doors of the town hall. For several seconds, there was silence. No pony dared move a muscle. At last, Twilight was the first to move, breaking into a gallop before stopping to look out at the night sky from the open door.
No. Oh no. No.
She whispered with dread before falling to her haunches.
Rainbow. Don't go.